We'd like to welcome you to our Health Corner for October 17th, 2017. And this is kind of a study that's long overdue. I will say at the onset of the study that what I'm going to be covering today is a lot of different health conditions. And because of my recent product line switchover, I've had a lot of questions about, well, I was taking this and what do I do to replace that, and is it as good, and these types of questions. And that's why I'm doing this study. I'm going to try to cover a lot of different bases today about specific health conditions, because that's how you use clinical nutrition. It's like if a surgeon was going to go in and do a particular surgery, he would use specific instruments for specific surgeries of a specific organ. That's how clinical nutritional supplementation really should be used. And I've been doing this really since the early 1990s. I mean, I started it even before I was really even in chiropractic college. And the primary product line I was taught on was Standard Process, and that's the one that, due to a lot of different issues that have come up in the last year, a lot of just the big brother stuff that they started to pull, particularly in the last few years, I really felt like God had been nudging me to, this is something you're going to have to do. You're going to have to make this product line switch. And I've known about other product lines, and this is something I wanted to do, but I was put in a position where I was forced to do it. It's just you get kind of you're complacent. I've been taught on this line for so long, and then I was kind of forced to make the switch due to a lot of different reasons that I've covered in previous teachings. And really on the other side of it, I'm really glad I did. But that's what this study is about. So if that's not of interest to you, then it's probably not something that you're going to even want to hear. But I do cover a lot of different health issues that come up, and what, from a clinical nutritional standpoint, what you would do. And then if there's other things I can think of off the top of my head, I'm doing all of this off the cuff. Every single bit of this is just coming straight out of my head. I don't have a format, or the only thing I have is an outline, which is basically a little list that I made. It's a crossover list, meaning if you were taking a particular product from Standard Process, then this is the crossover product. And the most direct company that's made a line with direct crossover products from Standard Process is a company called Detox. And they've also been around, I think, since the 80s. They've been around a long time as well. And the more I've looked at their product line and the more I've done head-to-head comparisons on a lot of the specific Standard Process products, the more I am convinced that overall, and I'm not saying every single product they have a replacement for, because some of the Standard Process products are so nichey that, and that's a kind of a made-up word there, but they're so niche that I don't have a good answer. But I would say 99% of the product line that Standard Process has, I have a very, very good replacement, if not superior, crossover product at this point. And it's not all from the Detox line. What I did is every single product that I've been phasing out from Standard Process, I'm still really in the process, but I took a good 3 months to actually compile this list, to look at all of the alternatives I had available from clinical nutritional supplements, and say, okay, what is the best one out of like the 4 things I might have to pick from here for different products that would match this specific niche product. So that's what we're going to be covering today. So it's going to be kind of a health study / what you do for a particular given condition, and then also, okay, if you were taking a Standard Process product, what would you switch over to? Unfortunately, this isn't going to be a lot of help to people that are overseas unless you can get access to these other product lines I'm talking about, and you'll have probably a better chance on the products I will be covering today regarding a crossover product that you might be able to get in Australia or England, because Standard Process was one of the most restrictive companies about overseas stuff. I mean, they were virtually impossible to get unless you wanted to go up to Amazon and pay about triple. And the last time I had checked, some of the products were running at triple the cost if you got them on Amazon. The reason is they've banned all internet sales at this point, and you have to go through a very specific process. That's why I didn't sell them online. That's why I never sold them online, because the hoops that you had to jump through in order to sell standard process online, you basically had to become a patient of the doctor in order to do it. That was one of the reasons that I started to want to move away from them. Probably this was over 10, 15 years ago. And I will say also, you know, anytime you buy from us, from myself, you're supporting the ministry. And increasingly, in the last, I would say, especially the last 3 years, I think with the economy, people are very, very apprehensive about what is coming, and I don't blame you. I mean, I'm one of the main ones that have reported on these issues. I'm the main one that's reported on so much of the dire times that we most likely have coming ahead, and a lot of people have drawn their horns in, and it's affected our donations, obviously, and that's I totally get that. I totally do. But anytime you buy from us, you're supporting the ministry, which I just wanted to throw that out there as well. So I'm going to just go from an A to basically Z list, and this sheet that I'm going from, I can email out, and it will literally give you the link to every one of these products in a much more descriptive thing. I'm going to try to do this in a Cliff Note version, meaning an abbreviated version, so that this study doesn't take 10 hours. But I do want to get through this, and this will probably answer a lot of people's questions about health conditions that they might not have known about, that these products are specifically targeted to help. So, first product that we're going to cover is the crossover from AC Carbamide. AC Carbamide is a standard process product. The product I have now is a crossover. It's called Carbamide Plus from Biotics, and it is I'm just flat out telling you, it's a superior product. It's got a much broader, better ingredient list in it, and what you use AC Carbamide for, and the crossover product, Carbamide Plus, that I'm using, is for gout. Typically, that's what you use this for. Gout is a buildup of uric acid in the joints. It typically likes to affect the shoulders, the thumbs, the big toe. Think of your thumbs and your big toe like they're kind of analogous. They're similar in that regard. Gout loves to get into the thumbs and the big toes. That's the classic presentation. But from my own personal experience, and my dad suffered from this quite a bit, it can get into the feet, into the ankles, all the way up into the calves. It can even get up into the knees. I've seen it affect elbows, shoulders, and the thumbs. So don't just think that, you know, it's just for the thumbs and the big toes if you've ever heard that about gout. It's a buildup of uric acid or purines in the body, and essentially what you're running into there, if you're eating foods that are too rich. I can remember the only time I've ever really had gout attacks is I used to do a lot of attorney meetings back in the day when I was in private practice with a medical doctor, and we had a personal injury practice back in Fort Myers. And we would go out and meet with attorneys frequently during the week, and they would always, you know, we'd go to these fancy places, and they'd order these fancy things, and we'd always have some fancy dessert. And I can remember those were about the only times I ever really had any kind of gout attacks. It's very painful. It can actually feel like ground glass in the joints. So you'll typically tend to get a little more swollen. The only way to really know 100% is to get your uric acid levels checked. It's more of a blood test, I believe. And so this particular product, unlike the AC Carbide, has a lot more to help with gout. It's actually, you could probably just get away with just this Carbamide Plus for a main gout supplement, because it's got all of the things AC Carbide has, but it also has a lot of other things like celery seed extract, uva ursa, marshmallow root. These are things that really work on the kidneys, and whenever you're treating gout, you have to treat the kidneys. Okay, and the full protocol for gout would be Carbamide Plus if you had a really bad case, with the new product, which is the direct crossover called R-Genex. Before I would use R-Genex from Standard Process. The new one you'd use is R-Genex. Okay, And those are the two I would still, they're direct crossover products. I think this is a superior protocol for gout. For a really bad case, I would do 6 per day. Now, this is if it were me. I'm not giving you medical advice. None of this I can be construed as that, because for, you know, the only ones that can actually do that are the MDs with the white coats and the magic prescription pads. I'm just saying, if it were me, this is what I would do. Okay, so I'll give that as a disclaimer. You know, I have to say, okay, seek, you know, competent medical, even though they have 0 to 3 hours of training in nutrition, and they treat everything typically with drugs or surgery, and you just can't drug your body into good health. These are things. These are like food tablets that we use. And these food tablets are very concentrated of different things, different plants, sometimes herbs, whole foods. And the reason that you take more at the beginning of these types of products is because if you had a acute condition of anything, you're going, and you want to get out of the woods as quickly as possible. Let's say you have a really bad gout attack. Okay, you're going to want to load up on these whole food concentrates in the very beginning in order to get yourself out of the woods as quickly as possible. Now, drugs, on the other hand, is the exact opposite approach. You're going to want to take the least amount possible in order to get yourself out of the woods. And as you take it, the longer you take it, the more your body gets dependent upon it. And this is really about any drug you could take. And then there's receptors for that particular drug that start to desensitize and fill up, essentially. And then you have to take more of the same drug in order to get the same effect. All drugs are toxic. All drugs have side effects. You can, and I'm not saying do this, but just to prove that, if you took a whole bottle of any particular drug, you're probably going to kill yourself. That's why people just, you know, OD on drugs. They take a whole bottle of pills. You take a whole bottle of the products that I have, it's not going to kill you. It might give you diarrhea, about worst case scenario, or maybe put you into a really huge detox, but it's not going to kill you. That's the big difference, okay? And so anyway, that's so the Carbamide Plus and the R-Genex are the two products that I would do for a gout case. Now, the other thing that you use the Carbamide Plus for is glaucoma. The reason is in glaucoma you have increased osmotic pressure in the eyes, and that pressure starts to put basically cut off the blood supply to the optic nerve, the more pressure in the eye. And what you need to do from a natural standpoint in glaucoma is release that pressure, okay? And this particular product, the Carbamide Plus, will decrease osmotic pressure naturally, as opposed to any kind of drug-induced way that they would try to do it. And this is an easy thing. The optometrists do this test all the time where they blow a puff of, I think, air into the eye, and then they test your pressures in your eyes. And I've seen the two things you do for glaucoma that I've seen help is a product like the Carbamide Plus with an MSM eye drop. Okay, I have both in stock. The MSM eye drops. That's really the only time I will typically use MSM eye drops, because MSM also creates permeability of the eye, meaning it lets the pressure out. Okay, so if you do MSM eye drops and Carbamide Plus, you're hitting it from two angles. You're hitting it from an external and an internal angle. And I have seen people that have done this protocol. I've seen people just do the protocol, just the MSM eye drops, and have their pressures drop 3 to 4 pounds within an hour period. Because there was a patient I had once, and he had MSM eye drops. He was at some type of, I don't know, some medical thing. And they tested his eyes. It was like 24 pounds, I believe, which is way too high. He did some MSM eye drops, came back later, and I think it was like 20 or 19. It had dropped drastically. So you can do amazing things if you have the right products. Okay? So that's the protocol for that. Let's go to the next product. AF Beta Food was from Standard Process, and it was a great product for gallbladder, liver. Okay? It was particularly gallbladder. Okay? So the product that I've got now from Biotics is a very, very good, if not better, crossover called Beta TCP. So that's the product that I have regarding the switch over in AF Beta Food, which the main ingredient is basically like a like a beet concentrate. And again, I have links to all of these different products, and it will take you there. And there's a PDF that it links you to, which is actually superior to what Standard Process offered before. Standard Process would offer very, very. They were so unbelievably cautious about doing anything the FDA didn't approve of, meaning you can't make any claims, you can't do, and their product descriptions were so generic and so milquetoast. They were almost worthless, and that was another frustration kind of that I had. But this is an organic beet concentrate is one of the main ingredients in this, and some other enzymes and this type of thing. But very good for any gallbladder case. Now I will say this. If you've got a hot gallbladder, meaning you've got a gallbladder that's really inflamed, I would not start with this product. The reason being is that it can work too good. If you've got a gallbladder full of stones, which most people do, okay, most people are loaded with gallstones. Now, I proved this when I was in chiropractic college for a year. I had gross dissection, okay. Well, actually, I had gross dissection 1 and 2, and then peripheral nervous system and central nervous system. And each one of them was, I believe, a trimester. So it was actually over a year. So about a year and a third, I was dissecting human bodies. And every single human cadaver that I checked, every single one had a sack full of gallstones. You can go right up to the human, check their gallbladder. They're all full of stones. Every one. It's universal. When I first did my first gallbladder flush, I probably passed way over 100 stones. Did it again, I probably passed like over 50. And when I did it the third time, I didn't pass any. Or if I did, I passed very minimal. Stones are in different states too. Some people they're like more of a softer type of, it's not so much a stone. When it gets to be a stone, I think these are things that have been there a lot longer. And so what you want to do is you want to approach gallstone cleansing somewhat cautiously. If you have a really, really hot gallbladder and it's inflamed, and especially if you've been told by a surgeon it has to come out, not something you want to just jump into. What you always would start with in that particular case is choline, just straight choline, which I do have. In fact, the choline that I've got is far superior to the one I was carrying before from Standard Process. It's in a capsule. The one that I carried from Standard Process was in a tablet form, and the problem with a lot of and this is universal with a lot of the Standard Process products, here's another huge problem I had with them, is that in a tablet form, in a whole food tablet form, think about this. If you baked a nice, like literally you ground the wheat berries and you made a fresh loaf of bread, okay, and the bread fresh out of the oven, no preservatives, no nothing. You know that unless you refrigerate that bread is going to be moldy probably pretty short order, especially if the weather is like spring or summer, okay? The cooler weather obviously will be a mold inhibitor in and of itself. Standard Process prides themselves on the whole food concept. And again, so does Botox, but they never put any type of glaze on the outside of the majority, well, really every single one of their tableted products. Products like Zypan and choline that they made, and all their Cataplex products, Cataplex A, C, G, E, whatever, they're just basically like a fresh loaf of bread that comes out of the oven. And well, particularly when I was in Florida, it was even worse. High humidity environments. If you didn't consume, especially if you got large bottles, if you didn't consume, the product in a month or two, you're going to see a lot of actual oxidation on the tablets. You're going to see it darkening. You saw that a lot with the choline tablets from Standard Pro. And I'm saying this because I won't have to say it later. The product that I'm carrying right now, and I think it's from a totally different company than Botox, but it's got more choline per tablet and it's in a capsule. and it's actually even, I think, $1 less. So it's a far superior overall, and you don't have to worry about the oxidation. But anyway, what you would do for a really hot gallbladder is you would want to start out with choline, and you would want to start out ideally also with bile salts or some derivation of bile salts, because that will calm a hot gallbladder down about quick as anything I know of. Then you'll actually get it more into the actual full-fledged maybe detox like a week into it once the gallbladder's calmed down. But in order to get somebody out of the woods, if it's really, really bad, and I mean, the first practice I was in, it was literally like a gallbladder practice. I don't know how many surgeries were canceled. I was only there probably for about a year, year and a half. He was trying to, the guy I was practicing with was putting all this pressure on me for me to buy the practice. He wanted $400,000 for it. And I was like, I just got out of chiropractic college. I'm 60 grand in debt, and now you want to put another 400 on me. I'm like, no. But I don't know how many gallbladder surgeries were canceled in that particular. I think certain practices get known for doing certain things. I mean, and this is such a common thing with people. They get their gallbladder removed and they think, oh, good, I didn't need it. It was some stupid vestigial organ. No, actually, it's an incredibly important organ. It is what stores bile in the body. Bile is the primary means by which your body will emulsify, start to kind of digest fats whenever you take in a fatty meal. Also, what is put in the bile are toxins that come out of the liver, and it's stored in the bile, and the body will end up excreting them with the feces later, okay? But if you take away that pathway, meaning you take out the gallbladder, now you have to produce bile on command, and the body can only do that to a certain extent. Maybe a low-fat meal is one thing, but if you get to moderate to higher fat meal, if you have your gallbladder taken out, you will never digest fats again. Not properly is what I mean. In that particular case, I tell people you really need to be on some kind of bile salt product for the rest of your life. You know, they didn't tell you this though when they took the gallbladder out, did they? No, they didn't say anything about it. They acted like it was a stupid dumb organ that you didn't need. Well, yeah, well that's how they make their money, and unfortunately they're taught that way. You need a gallbladder. And it's really bad for women and it's bad for men too, but with women, if they don't have healthy functioning livers, and if you take a gallbladder out, now your toxin pathway's all messed up because you don't have the bile storage center in the gallbladder to store it in anymore, and all the hormones in the body are essentially broken down or processed through the liver. So if you take a gallbladder out from a woman, especially if she's getting near menopause, now you've really created havoc with her hormonal system, because guess what? You have to have fats in order. Fats basically are hormones. The cholesterol part of cholesterol, the sterol part, is basically the main precursor to all hormones in the body. And yet we're told cholesterol is this evil substance that's coursing through our veins that needs to be brought to the lowest possible levels. That's also a bunch of total garbage. Okay, now you can have your HDL and your LDL levels out of whack. You can have homocysteine out of whack. You can have ratios out of whack, and I don't have any problem bringing those ratios into good order. But when you artificially manipulate cholesterol levels to what they're doing now with all of these statin drugs, you are setting yourself up to literally go insane. Because can you imagine having your gallbladder out and being on a cholesterol lowering drug? You are doing so many things to kill yourself and to make yourself go nuts, because guess what? If your hormones get all out of whack because your cholesterol's so low and because you don't have a properly functioning gallbladder and your liver's gummed up, well, you're gonna be very, very prone to having all kind of mental instability because your hormones are going to be so out of whack. Hey, then they can put you on Prozac. Then they can put you on all these other ones. And the main ingredient of Prozac's fluoride. I'm not making this stuff up. Look it up. Fluoride. Which basically burns out your lower brain lobes and takes away your will to resist. Which is why they used it originally in the Nazi internment camps with the Jews. Because they wanted to create a subservient, docile population that would go into the gas chambers and go into and I understand a lot of the people that got off the train tracks and they put in there, they might not have even been on it right then. But I'm saying, as a whole, for a population, they wanted to use it in that regard. And they're still using it today. They're pumping it into the water. They're putting it in the toothpaste, and they're putting it in all of these prescription drugs. I don't even know what it is now. It's like some unbelievable percentage of the population are on prescription drugs. I mean, it's unbelievable how many people are. I haven't even seen an MD in, I don't know, decades and decades. You know, I have no problem with emergency medicine. Get yourself out of the woods. Okay, great. But overall, beyond that, you just cannot drug your body into good health. And I understand there's exceptions of why you'd see an MD, and I get all of that. But we're so reliant as a society on the medical system, which is a system based upon drugs and surgery, and not really getting you better, but treating your symptoms. And what happens when you sweep symptoms under a rug, which is what drugs do? Well, then it turns into a really big problem down the road. And then a lot of times you become a surgical candidate. That's all by design, on purpose. These are chemicals they're treating your body with. I'm trying to get people more back to the way God would want us to be, and to get us, the toxins out of our body, and to get our bodies functioning on a healthy level so you feel better, so you do better, so you can do more for God, which is really what it's all about. This whole medical paradigm is set up so that you are sick, weak, dependent upon them, and that's exactly the way Satan wants the population. So, I know I said a mouthful there with the cholesterol. If you don't believe me about the cholesterol, there's a book you can read. Yudi Rostofan, The Cholesterol Myth, I believe it's called. There's so many others, but they break it down. The countries the people that have the highest cholesterol levels, that live the longest in a lot of these different countries, have the highest cholesterol levels. They do. And I'm talking, they're eating really fatty foods, but it's good fats. It's the good ratios of fats that they're getting. And most likely their livers are functioning well, and they have gallbladders. Okay, so remember, so much of what we deal with begins in the gut. It begins right where the stomach is, where you get the interaction with the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. It's your enzymatic processes. If you start to get horrible things going on with those systems, well then, if the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Like the Bible says in Psalm 11, verse 3. That's your foundation, okay? Really, you could even go up to where you chew your food, where you're producing like ptyalin and these types of enzymes in the mouth to break down your food. It's good to chew your food thoroughly and these types of things. If you start to get breakdowns in the upper, it's just going to start a cascading effect into the intestines and then into the bloodstream and elsewhere. So these are all things that are good to know. So going back to the replacement I have for AF beta through the gallbladder supplements, beta TCP, it comes in a 180 count and a 90 count. Okay. Again, what you would do for a hot gallbladder, choline, a really hot gallbladder, choline, and then the product that I've got for a bile salt now, let me just look here, is iCall Plus. You do those two together. And then after about a week, you would add in a specific liver type product. And you generally want to do like a gallbladder liver flush for at least a month. Typically, they say that the soonest you can do it's 3 weeks. I like a month. Sometimes if it's really bad, if you've never done one your whole life, I would recommend like 2 months. Yes, you can do the gallbladder flushes. I even have that as an attachment. But here's the thing. If you've never done it before, I would be very cautious, because if you're going to do that, at least do choline for a couple weeks. Here's the reason I say that. And I've said this before in previous teachings, because this is really important, what I'm about ready to say. If you've got a whole lifetime of built up gallstones, and some of them are old and they're hard. They're like calcium oxalate type of gallstones. They're calcified, in other words. And they have sharp edges. When you do that gallbladder flush, the kind with like the olive oil and the Epsom salts and that thing, okay, that works. I mean, I've done it, okay? But if you just randomly go out and do that, and you don't do anything to break down the gallstones ahead of time, like choline in particular, and again, choline, what choline does is it defats the liver and it breaks down gallstones. And it's very, very good for the liver detoxification pathways and for the gallbladder in general. Okay, and it generally will not aggravate a hot gallbladder. It's another reason I use it at the very, very beginning. What I'm trying to do is get those stones, turn them into like sludge, break them down so that when the body passes them, it's not a big deal. Okay? What you don't want to happen is, let's say you do no choline, you do no bile salts, you just go right into a gallbladder flush. You've never done it in your life, and you've got all kind of hard calcium oxalate type hard stones in your gallbladder. Theoretically, when you take that olive oil that last night, I don't know, it's 3 or 4 days or whatever, on the very, very last night where you take the olive oil and the gallbladder contracts, well, what can happen is they can tear their way out, and it has happened before. Now, you have a gallstone tearing its way out of the gallbladder because it can't get through the bile duct because it's not big enough, because you haven't broken the stone down. Well, now you've got peritonitis. You've got the contents of the gallbladder leaking out into the sterile cavity of your abdominal cavity. Now you've got a gigantic problem. Now you've got emergency room. Now you could die. So this is why I'm cautious about the gallbladder flushes, and I generally like to go with the supplementation route because you're accomplishing the same thing and you're detoxing at a much deeper level. There's no way you can properly detox your liver in 3 days. There's no way. You might be able to get rid of the majority of the stones you have in 3 days, but there's no way you're going to do a deep cleanse of the liver. Okay, so generally what I would do is like choline up front if you're in doubt at all, and then I would add in like the beta, the way that my flush I've got structured now, and I'll just bring that up real quick because I'm on the subject. I might as well cover it. Let me see here. And what this is going to enable me to do is just skip over a lot of products later because I've already covered them. So the protocol I have to dissolve gallstones and cleanse and defat the liver. Now, here's another thing. The vast majority of people walking around right now not only have a sack of gallstones that are just brimming to the, fill it to the rim with brim like that old coffee commercial, but they've also got fatty livers. Okay? It's just a byproduct of, you have to understand, they're doing all these things to try to kill us. They're putting chlorine and fluoride in the water and all these other chemicals. They're giving us GMO foods. There's all these chemicals in there. They're chemtrailing us. They're doing all these things to annihilate us physically. So unless you're eating super, super clean and doing so many different right things, and you've done that for a long, long time, because let's say you did it for 20 years, it just doesn't go away. You've got 20 years of accumulated toxins or whatever. You have to take specific measures to get them out of your body. So the protocol I have right now to dissolve gallstones, cleanse and defat the liver. Now, this is if you don't necessarily have a hot gallbladder. But the protocol is Livotrit Plus. That's the one I brought in from Biotics. And it's a very, very good overall, very, very complete liver cleanse. And let me just click on this real quick. It's got, I believe, is it 8 different Ayurvedic herbs? Yeah, Andrographis, Berberis, Eclipta, Indian barberry. Oh, it's got way more than 8. It's got a lot of different things in it, and it's a very, very good detoxification liver cleanse. It's excellent. And I don't think also, with what I was using before with the Livoplex from Standard Process, and this would be the replacement for Livoplex. I might as well cover it now. That product really put a lot of people into a emotional tailspin. It made a lot of people angry because the liver is there's different organs that are associated with different emotions. Now, I learned this from, I was board certified in acupuncture as well from University of Miami. I don't do acupuncture anymore because it's based in the occult, but I do believe there's merit to some of what I learned in the acupuncture, and there's different organs associated with different emotions, and the liver is the one that's associated mostly with anger. And a lot of times you would put people on a liver detox, especially if I gave them Livoplex, and they would get really angry, which is actually telling the doctor that you've just hit the nail on the head. And that's exactly what they need. They just might need to back off on the dosage. Also, whenever you're doing detox, make sure you're getting 8 to 10 to 12 glasses of purified good water per day. Make sure that it's got no fluoride in it. Now, that's not easy to do. probably the easiest way I can tell you to do that, to knock the fluoride down, for probably the easiest way, probably something that you could do if the power went out as well. Get a black Berkey unit. They're not super cheap, but then again, no water filtration system really is. Get a black Berkey unit, get the black Berkey filters, and then get the fluoride filters that you screw on the bottom, and you're getting basically all the stuff out. I actually even run mine through like another 10-stage filter. I have an EnviroPure. It's like another 10-stage before I even put the water in the black Berkey. That way I'm getting really all the chlorine out. It doesn't really hit the fluoride, but I'm getting the chlorine and a lot of the other chemicals out before it even goes in the black Berkey, which is going to extend your filter life. And then I tend to change the filters in the 10-stage filter that I've got 3 different black Berkeys in the house, and for different rooms, and one in the kitchen, one in my room, and Taylor has one. And I'm using good filtered water to even put it in there, and that way you're going to extend your filter life. Now, it's probably not going to extend the fluoride filter life, because the fluoride is the hardest thing to get out. It's literally about the same molecular size as water. So you have to have a specific filter to get the fluoride out. And it's the hardest thing, and they did it on purpose, I'm just telling you. But anyway, this is a really good overall product. You do 6 a day for 1 bottle, and it's a 180 count bottle. It's 36. And then you do a bottle of the beta TCP, which is what I just talked about. It's the beet type product, which really, really goes after not only liver but gallbladder. You do a 180 count bottle of that, 6 a day, which is a month's supply. That's 30. And then you do another product I have called Hepatic Clear, which has a therapeutic dose of choline in it. So I'm not doing the choline separate now. I would only do the choline separate if you had a really hot gallbladder. But what you might always want to do with this protocol, you do the Hepatic Clear, you're going to do, again, 6 a day on that for 3 bottles. They only come in 60 count bottles. They're 27 a bottle. And what you want to do with that is you might want to start on that one a week out, a week ahead of time, just to be on the safe side, get that choline in the body, get that in, and that's a whole other detox unto itself. Okay, so that's my dedicated protocol for liver, gallbladder. Not to say you're not going to have any other detoxification effects. I do have a product also that's replacing the SP cleanse that I had before, which is more of a whole body cleanse, and it's called Multi-Phase Detox, and that's just a whole body type of cleanse. Okay, and that's my crossover from SP cleanse that I sold from Standard Process. So I've got that one as well. You can add that one into the month-long protocol as well if you'd like. So that's my full detox that I would be talking about. So these are products now that I've already covered. So as I go through the list, I'm going to be skipping more other things. So okay, let's go to the third thing. My product for desiccated adrenal from Standard Process. Generally, you would use that product if you were under, let's say you had a death in the family, you just went through some huge emotional trauma. You're going to want to use typically a dedicated adrenal glandular. The glandulars that Biotics makes are so far superior to anything I've seen from really any company. They use this freeze drying process. It's just beyond superior. I've given Taylor the glandulars, and I mean, that's had a profound effect on her whenever I give her any of these. As opposed to, I have something to compare to because I would give her glandulars from Standard Process before, not a lot of effect. They're just very superior. And another thing about all their products, they do have like this food glaze on them, which helps protect them from oxygen, which helps protect against oxidation and the degradation of the product. Therefore, the shelf life on the product is going to be a lot higher. So you could use the product that I have that is my straight glandular crossover. It's called Cytozyme AD. It's from Biotics, and that's the product I would use as a direct crossover to desiccated adrenal. Basically what it does is it's rebuilding your adrenals. Now, bare minimum, you would want to do like a multivitamin as well, because you want to have the vitamins and things of this nature in there as well. And with the vitamins that I have, and I'll just cover that real quick. we've got the well, the Intramax that I have, which is the liquid. It's like 423 different things in one product. It's probably, like, if I only could prescribe one product, it's probably the one I would have to say would have to cover the most bases. It's in like an organic liquid form. It's highly absorbable. Very, 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 very good. It's pretty pricey, but it's probably, if I could only do one, it'd be the one I'd have to say I would. Now remember, whenever you're taking a multi, though, you're not going to get a therapeutic dosage of any one particular nutrient. You're going to get a lot of different nutrients, but never a mega dose of any one particular thing. So you're covering a lot of bases, but if you're still trying to treat a specific health condition, you're probably going to need to do supplementation geared to that one area. The other multis that I have are the Innate Response, which is all whole food, low heat food, type of nutrients that very, very much in the vein of Standard Process. I just think that they're definitely a notch above, if not a couple notches above, from how they're processed. Have a woman's one daily, one a day. A woman's over 40 one daily from Innate. I have a men's one daily, and a men's over 40 one daily. So I've got those 4 different ones as my multis. I always say you need to have a good multi as your base product. That's kind of like a given. And I also have the Nature Dynamics, the gummies, the woman's multi gummy and the men's multi gummy. Now, I'm not. My suppliers told me that they haven't been able to get a hold of Nature Dynamics for like the last 3 or 4 months. I called, I don't know, probably about 3 weeks ago, and they still couldn't get through. I don't know. I think the company just shut down. I still have the product line in stock. I don't know if how long I'm gonna be able to get it, though. I have no clue what's went on there, but it's almost like if what they're telling me is true, and I'm sure it is. I've called them twice, and they've never lied to me, and I have no reason to lie to me. They're the ones selling me the products. I don't know. They just like folded up shop and got out of Dodge. I have no clue, but I still have that full line in stock. And then for the kids line, I have the Nature Multi Gummy, which is really probably the most popular one I have for the children line. And then I also have the Omega Gummy, which is their Omega product. Now, I've already, in anticipation of this, I ran out of the probiotic chewable they had, so I've brought in another product that's actually far superior. It's called the Pharmex HLC Child, 30 chewable tablets. Each chewable tablet's 8 times stronger than the Nature Dynamic chewable probiotic I previously sold. So that's the one I'm recommending now for children that I've got. It's it's the same company that makes my fish oils, the Pharmex fish oils that I've mentioned in previous studies. It's the best fish oil I've brought into my line. It's, for the amount of DHA and EPA you're getting, it far exceeds the ones I was selling before, the tuna omega-3 and the cod liver oil from Standard Process. It's not even close. You're getting way more for your money, and this company just does primarily fish oils, and they're very emphatic about the way they're processed and the pesticides and the things of this nature that you can run into with fish oils. So that's the one I brought in. It's the Pharmex Finest Fish Oil, I think, and that's the one I've brought in. And for the money, it just blows away anything I was selling before. So they're the same ones that makes these probiotic tablets. And then so that's about all I have on that particular thing. Oh, I also have for the pregnancy, for the multivitamins on the pregnancy, the best one I know of, whole food, the whole 9 yards, all the nutrients are like, whole food type thing. The Baby and Me multivitamin, that comes in a 60 and a 120 tablet. You're going to do 2 a day on that if you're pregnant, bare minimum really. And then you also want to do a really good fish oil. You want to do the Pharmex Finest Fish Oil, the one I have. It's very, very high in what they call the DHA portion of the omega-3. The reason that you really want a high DHA fish oil, especially in pregnancy, is that is going to be essential for the baby's brain development. Not so much EPA, which is the other component of that type of omega-3 fish oil. The DHA is integral in brain formation. The brains that we have are primarily fat. It's like the main ingredient of our brains. It's the main component of our brains. And the DHA is that fat. Okay, it's integral in that. So that's true for anybody. I mean, fish oils are something that you know, like, somebody comes to me and say, well, if you could take like 4 or 5 things, you know, whatever, or you want to do a really good whole food vitamin, you're going to want a fish oil, because you cannot get the good essential oils in a multivitamin. The reason is if they were to try to put that in a, I mean, you've ever seen fish oil tablets, they're big, number one. Number two, how do you incorporate an oil into a multivitamin? You know, even a liquid, the oil's going to separate, it's going to be a mess. It's not going to work. I like to do the fish oils in a gel peril type of thing, because you're preventing oxidation, you're not letting oxygen hit the oil. And I don't know if you've ever tried to take liquid fish oils, but they are such a colossal pain to try to do that. It's just unbelievable. And they're so messy. If you've ever tried to, I mean, I've tried to do it, and not only that, they stink because it's a fish oil. Ugh, you know, I hate it that way. That's why I like this new fish oil I brought in from Pharmex, because now one thing about it, it is a big gel peril. I mean, it's pretty big, so if you have a hard time, you might have to go the liquid route. But there's no mess, no fuss, and you're getting a really good therapeutic dosage. So, like a good multivitamin, preferably tailored to you. That's why I kind of like the innate ones, because it's above and below 40 on the men's and the women's. Or Intermax is a good one you could do for the whole family, you know. It's another one. The gummy line is probably, it's like the most economical. It's also the most user-friendly, compliant, but it's not like by any stretch like the one with the most amount of nutrients. You know, there's a trade-off with everything, but it is good. I mean, it's you know, vastly superior to what you're going to get, you know, elsewhere typically. So a good fish oil, a good multivitamin, and then it would really depend on else what your other maybe concerns are. If you have immune system issues, I would say the C400. It's the one I primarily rely on to keep my immune system functioning properly. It's a whole food vitamin C. Okay, so it would totally depend at that point what your health concerns were. And that's kind of why I'm doing this study today, because we're going to be covering a lot of bases, and a lot of your questions may be answered. And that's why I would say you might want to listen to this until the very end in order to actually get, you know, questions that you might have right now. So let's go back to the crossover sheet here. Okay. The next product, Alboplex. Alboplex from Standard Process was a dual kidney/liver cleanse. Okay, I didn't use it a whole lot because I generally did dedicated products for different organ systems, but it was a really good shotgun product. Now, some of the Standard Process also, just so you know, I still do have in stock. I have some of the MediHerb and some of the Standard Process. If you want to know what ones I've got, email me. I'll send you a fee sheet. If you see the product on my fee sheet, you know that I've still got it in stock. Now, I may only have 1 bottle. I may have 3 or 4 bottles. I don't, you know, it just depends on the product. But what I'm saying is that if you go up to Amazon right now and try to buy the Standard Process or the MediHerb, you're going to probably pay double to triple to quadruple. So I've still got a lot of those in stock, and you can get them from me, and you're going to get them at retail price, which is what the Standard Process wants its doctors, and we're bound to. I mean, there's I don't think there's like a written thing, but we're if they catch you not selling them at retail, they might give you a warning at first, but then they'll cancel your account. And I always try to do things by the book, you know, with them, and they were very, you know, but at the end it just got so crazy with all their stuff. They were, you know, it was just insane. But the crossover product that I have for the Alboplex is called Renal Plus. And this product is also, I might as well cover it now, will replace Rena Food that I had from Standard Process. This is a much more complete product than RenaFood ever was. It's just got a lot more in it. It's support for the urological system, the kidneys, the bladder, that whole ball of wax there. It has specific vitamins, minerals, and neonate glandulars in a unique botanical blend. It contains uva ursa, which is it's like a natural diuretic, very, very good for urinary tract infections, the kidneys. Bucca leaf, same thing. Echinacea, if you have any type of infection, urinary tract infection, echinacea, great for that. Cranberry, excellent for the kidneys. I had before, if I wanted, before I found this product, I would have to do cranberry complex from MediHerb and RenaFood together in order to get all the stuff you're getting in this one product here, Renal Plus. And it's got cranberry, and it's also got the kidney glandular, the thymus glandular, which is for immune system again, and then also the liver. So you're actually hitting liver as well. So it's much like Alboplex in that regard. You're hitting both systems. So, and again, all of these, what I'm reading off here is, oh my word, it has way more than even that. It's got all kind of other stuff. Vitamin A. Which is also really important for the immune system and infections. Okay, so I only covered some of the ingredients. Anyway, each one of them has its own little PDF product literature thing here, which is much more complete than I had access to with the standard process line. They were just so generic in their statements. So, Renal Plus, okay. Renal Plus, my replacement for RenaFood and Alboplex. It's your go-to product for any type of kidney, urinary tract infection, bladder infection, Renal Plus. Okay, one-stop shopping. They do have a dedicated product just for the kidneys, and it's called Cytozyme KD. And so if you had somebody that was on let's say they had all kind of kidney problems. They had kidney issues galore, and they had, let's say they were saying, you're going to have to go on dialysis. I would definitely do the Cytozyme KD, which is your dedicated glandular, best glandulars I've ever seen that Biotics makes, with the Renal Plus. There's a little bit of that glandular in the Renal Plus, but it's not a therapeutic dose. I would do those two together at like 6 per day until the person's like way better. And then you can always, at that point, once the person's out of the woods, then you start to lower dosage, and then you can go to a maintenance dosage. But understand something: if somebody has had or been prone to a particular problem all their life, that is not just going to go away. It might be something you battle, and it probably will be something you battle till the day you die. I'm always going to have to battle immune system stuff for me. I don't have immune system issues. I hardly ever get sick now. Why? Because if I feel my immune system, whatever, I take my C400. I make sure that my calcium levels are good, because that has a lot to do with white blood cell, the feeding of the white blood cells. I'll get into that later. I make sure my zinc levels are good. That has a lot to do with immune system function, but, and I don't get sick. I just don't. The key is catching it at the very beginning. You don't want to wait until, wow, I've been sick for a day, I'm going to start up my... No. As soon as you start to feel that tickle in the back of your throat, or whatever you feel like, I just don't feel right, I feel like I'm getting sick, that's when you hit the clinical nutrition. You hit the whatever whole food stuff you've got. I mean, even if you had, you don't have access to any of this, oranges, anything you can do that's going to have natural vitamin C in it, okay? You're going to want to hit that hard at the beginning, because it's like a war. And when you're going to war, you get out on the battlefield as quickly as possible. You go to war, you stop before their troops have multiplied, because that's what's happening in the body. Like with bacterial and things like that, you've got all this ramping up of things. You want to hit them while they're at their weakest, and that's typically at the beginning. That's why I'm more aggressive with this type of things near the beginning, and then as you get better, then you can start to ramp down dosage. All right. Oh man, I'm already 54 minutes. But I have covered a lot so far. Okay, next product, Allerplex, which was kind of like the generic allergy supplement that Standard Process had. Now, I never was that thrilled with Allerplex. Yes, it helped, and it was good. But the product that I brought in from Biotics or whatever, it's called Histoplex AB. It's just so far superior. It's the best thing I've ever seen for allergies. I'm just flat out telling you, it is the best product I've ever used for allergies. I generally do, and that's something I battle my whole life. Okay, if I do like a couple of these, and I don't even do them every day. And I'm bad because what'll happen is I'll do a couple, and then I'll have a few good days, and then all of a sudden I'll kind of start to feel a little bit of allergies. Depending on the time of year, I'll take a couple more. I'll be good. There's certain times of the year I got to take it every day. Okay, why? Because I'm prone to it. Genetically speaking, it's a weak link in my chain. So I'm telling you, there is nothing that I've ever taken that's better than this stuff. And I've got a bottle right here, and it's basically just all different herbs. Eyebright, mulberry, silk tree. Some of these I can hardly, goldenrod, I can hardly pronounce. All I'm telling you is the stuff's amazing. It comes in a 90-count bottle, and it's just amazing. It's $35 for a 90-count bottle. It's far superior, as far as I'm concerned, to Allerplex. Then there's R-Genex. Now, R-Genex is the other allergy product that Standard Process makes. Now, R-Genex, again, I would say the Histoplex AB is the most direct replacement for the R-Genex as well. Okay, so that's the one I would recommend on that. I just don't see a whole lot of comparison. It's just superior. Then the next product the Standard Process made was R-Genex, and for that, I've already mentioned this, it's the R-Gezyme. And the R-Gezyme is it's a very specific product that is for detoxing the kidneys. Okay, it's like I've heard it likened to, you know, like gum out for your car. It cleans out all like the fuel systems and everything. Well, this R-Genyase type enzyme, where they get this R-Genyase from, is likened to like gum out for the kidneys. Okay, so it's really, really good to detox the kidneys. You could add that into let's say what I said before, Renal Plus. If you had kidneys and you had a lot of toxicity issues, Renal Plus, R-Gezyme, and the Cytozyme KD would be like the ultimate kidney protocol, okay, to be on. But this product, this R-Gezyme, is much more complete than the R-Genex from Standard Process, and you're getting a lot of different vegetable cultures and a lot of different things in there. And again, I give you the link there if you want me. In fact, what I'll do is I'll put here. This is what I'll do. The PDF for this study will be this sheet that I'm going off of, and I list the prices. Now remember, the prices are subject to change, so if you're hearing this like a year from now, the prices might be some more. That was another thing about Standard Process. Man, oh man, they increased their prices, and it just kept increasing. Biotics doesn't have near as much of a tendency. Like with Standard Process, it was like every 3 months. It got to the point. It was ridiculous. And a lot of these things, they were pricing themselves right out of, whatever. Biotics does not have that tendency. This will be the PDF, though, for this study. What the information that I'm going over, the crossover sheet, and the prices are listed next to it. So you've got the R-Gezyme is by far the most direct crossover I have for R-Genex. B6 niacinamide by Standard Process. It's just basically a B6 and a niacinamide together. Generally, you would use that for carpal tunnel syndrome. In some adrenal cases, you could use that, the B6 niacinamide. The one that I do have, though, that's actually definitely far superior, because the B6 niacinamide, unfortunately, they didn't use it from a whole food source, Standard Process. But Innate does. They have it's called Homocysteine Response. Now, I've never talked about this product, but it is very good. People that go in and get their blood tests, they have high homocysteine levels. It's an inflammation marker, and it's a very large... It's one of the greatest predictive precursors to having a heart attack that there is, if your homocysteine levels are way too high. A lot of people have this. They get their LDL and their HDL ratios and their C-reactive protein and homocysteine levels. Homocysteine is one of the greatest, most accurate predictors of having a cardiovascular incident. And so this is the most direct way I know of to lower homocysteine levels, and it's with a a basically a whole food B6, B12, and folate. You do the three together, and that's the best way. So if you have somebody that has it's a cardiovascular case, this is always a really good, safe one to add in there, especially if they've ever had high homocysteine levels. At least a one a day. These are the types of things you would also want if you were taking iron. Like if a woman's taking iron, which, that's a huge issue with a lot of women. They're anemic. And you add in, let's say they're just doing iron. You want to at least be on a good whole food multivitamin. This is another good one because you need the folate, the B6, and the B12 in order to counterbalance a dedicated iron, ideally, okay, in the program. Also, I've heard this product is very, very good for people that are losing their hearing. The B6, the B12, and the folate. Now, this is all off the top of my head. I'm not saying it doesn't have more applications. I could open up my binder that I've accumulated over the last 25 years, and we could go into detail on all of this stuff, but we don't have the time for that, and you don't have the time for it. So I'm just trying to cover like the big bases. But this is a really good one that I've never said a lot about but it covers a lot of bases, and it's a very important product. So that's the Homocysteine Response. And that's 30 for 90 count bottle. Okay, and then I had the Biodent, which was probably my number one product that I had from Standard Process that I sold a lot. It's for the teeth. Okay, I cannot believe how many people have had teeth issues that I've had, particularly in the last 6 years. It seems like it's increased. I don't know if they're doing something to whatever, but man alive, have I had a lot of people emailing me about teeth cases. Now, the product that I've brought in for that is called Bone Cofactors. And it just comes in a one-size bottle. It's $47. And basically what you're getting in this product that I like better is with the Biodent, you're getting a lot of different whole food things that are good for teeth. But there's a lot of also things that are left out of it that I always felt like I had to do multiple products in order to actually do a teeth protocol properly. Okay, with this one you're getting the vitamin D3. We've talked a lot about vitamin D3. I have that in dedicated form, but you're getting it all in one product. So this would be like one you would do for like any osteoporosis case, any case where you were trying to heal bone, like a bone break. You would do it for any type of case where the teeth are degrading or you're getting cavities, those types of things. Now, it's not the specific thing you're going to do to actually try to get rid of the cavity infection. It kind of is in a roundabout way because you're strengthening the enamel, you're strengthening the teeth, but you're going to do actually colloidal silver, the Vive mild silver protein for a cavity case. Okay, because that's actually going to go after the infection. But here's the problem. If you just did the silver, you're doing nothing to rebuild the teeth at all. You're just going to have to keep taking the silver, which is an expensive proposition. You have a cavity, what you do is you take the 5,000 part silver, you do, I don't know, a couple full dropperfuls, and you just hold it in your mouth over wherever you've got the cavity for like, ideally 5 minutes. You do that once or twice a day while you're taking a product like this. Now, here's the problem. Bone is the slowest. Well, it's not the slowest healing tissue in the body. That's actually nerves. But it's one of the slowest healing tissues. It's one of the tissues that obviously has the poorest blood supply. I mean, think about it. Bone, blood supply, it doesn't have a great blood supply. So in other words, it takes a long time to affect bone. It takes a long time, a lot of times, for it to degrade, and it takes a long time to affect it in a positive manner. So, you can't expect to do a protocol and like, with bone and have like overnight typical results. I have seen overnight results with loose teeth in the gums, and I'll go into that in a little bit in a minute. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but the bone itself, it can take some time. So this one has it has a vitamin K2, which is also very, very essential for any type of bone formation in the body. Okay, it's one that like they've really realized this a lot in the last like 15 years with the vitamin K2. So vitamin D3, K2, it has a very highly formable, absorbable form of calcium, and then also phosphorus. Okay, phosphorus is also essential for laying down of calcium properly in the bone. Magnesium, also essential for calcium uptake. Zinc, copper, and manganese. Manganese, you've heard me talk a lot about manganese because manganese is the one that you have to hold your chiropractic adjustments, hold your joints in place, but it's also a bone toughener. So, a reason I like this product is you're getting like just about everything you need, almost. I'll go over the one other thing I would add in, but you're getting it all in one product. My teeth protocols could be rather vast when I was using just the standard process. And that was one of the things I didn't like about it. I've simplified it now with the product lines we brought in, and I think this is more complete. The manganese, now there was some manganese in Biodent, I will say that, but this one also has manganese, and that's a bone toughener. It also has boron. Boron, I could do a whole study on boron, on all the amazing effects of boron. And has a very, very positive beneficial effect also on not only bone, but also any arthritic case. And that doesn't matter if it's rheumatoid or osteo, or even juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. It's amazing for a lot of different things. I have a file on that I can email out. So anyway, it's called Bone Cofactors. It's a very, very good product. It's the one that I've used to bring in to replace Biodent. Now, the only other thing I would do beyond that is a good silica product. And this is if you have a really bad tooth case. I've just had this epiphany recently realizing how important silica is. And I'm using the brand that I'm using of silica. They were the first ones that ever produced it 50 years ago. And there's two things you got to worry about with silica if you're using it from a horsetail source, and they remove both those things, and they have. It's, I believe, the most highly absorbable, and silica is essential in bone formation. It will literally double the healing time of a bone break. There's all this research. I've got Word docs on all of this stuff. But the one I would add in is the silica product that I carry. If you have a really, really bad tooth case, you're going to do the Bone Cofactors and you're going to do the silica together, okay? If you have gum issues, okay, let's not take it too far. Let's say you have bad teeth. I've already told you what to do about the cavities. The 5,000 part per million and 5 mouths over protein. I have that in stock. If you order it from me personally, you're going to save $5 per bottle and you're going to get free shipping on your whole order, okay? With any strength 5,000 or above. It's the best price you'll find on the internet, other than when Vive runs these specials, which I think they've run. The last special he did was like for a week, and it's the third time they've ever run it in like a 20-year period since I think the product started in 93. Yeah, so about 25 years. They've only run it 3 times. Anyway. You can email me on any of this stuff. There's a contact thing at the contendingfortruth.com website. And most of the time you'll see my email at the top of the PDFs. If you can't get a hold of me, normally you can always get a hold of me through that contact tab. I've had some issues lately, I believe, with people emailing me. So if you're trying to email me directly, you might want to try the contact thing at the and let me know that either, like, if you've emailed me and you're not getting any response, let me know that, because I'll probably try emailing you from a different address to see if that makes a difference. Usually that will fix it. For some reason, I've had issues with that. I don't know whether I'm being targeted because of the information I get into. They're trying to throw monkey wrenches into my ministry to try to whatever. I kind of sense that's probably the case. So bear that in mind. I'm not trying to ignore people, but I think a lot of these emails I haven't gotten. So, but you can always pretty much reach me through that contact button at the contendingfortruth.com website. Okay, so Oh boy. Okay. So we were talking about teeth. So if you had a, let's say you had loose teeth, okay, what you would do, and let's say that's all you really had, okay. I've told you what to do about teeth that are degrading and that are cavity prone. Okay, I've already kind of told you that. The vi silver protein for the cavities, and then you've got the bone cofactors and the silica for the teeth itself. If you've got loose teeth, the product that I did before for that was called Calma Plus by Standard Process. The one that I've brought in is CalMag Plus. It's by Biotics, and it has the parathyroid. The parathyroid is the key. The parathyroid is the only gland in the body that is totally dedicated to one process, and that's calcium regulation. It sits on top of the thyroid, and that's why if women in particular have their thyroid removed, they're not told even that they had their parathyroid removed. It's like, again, it's a vestigial stupid organ that serves no purpose, and then they wonder why after they get their thyroid removed that they go to they get osteoporotic, because now their calcium regulation's all messed up because their parathyroid's been removed. But their MD never told them any of this. So you really should, if you had your thyroid removed, not only you're going to be on the whatever drugs they give you, and I recommend you do Armor thyroid because at least it's a natural glandular, okay? But you should also be on a dedicated parathyroid supplement like this CalMag Plus with parathyroid. Because if you're not going to have any type of parathyroid even mimicking activity in the body. You have to do replacement therapy if they remove the gland. I mean, that's the only option you really do have. The gland's gone. You can't magically recreate it. So my cousin Heidi one time had come to me, and she was literally going to get all of her teeth yanked out at the dentist in like a week because they were all this gumphotic joint. It's called the joints in the teeth are called gumphotic joints, and they were all loose. Her teeth were all loose. The dentist said in his infinite wisdom, well, I just need to yank them all out. They're stupid. So she came to me. I put her on the Calma Plus. I probably put her on Biodent. Her teeth all tightened up within a week. Now, that's one area where you will see really, really super quick results, typically. And it was the parathyroid aspect of the Calma Plus, in this case the CalMag Plus, that caused those teeth to tighten up. And comes in a 60 count bottle for 16. Now, beyond that, while I'm covering teeth, I might as well cover teeth. Taylor just reminded me, I mean, she had been, she had teeth issues growing up or whatever. I've never had a cavity in my whole life. Taylor's never had a cavity. We've had times where she thought she might have been getting one, and just at the very onset, I would put her on like Biodent. And she responds so unbelievably to the nutrients that, would just knock it right out. Now, if she had a full-blown cavity, what I would have done, say we just missed it, we would have done the Invive Silver with the Biodent, or in this case now I would do the bone cofactors and the silica. So, yeah, you can cure cavities, is what I'm saying. Is I'm not claiming a cure, but I'm telling you, I've had a lot of people email me back that their cavities went away. I mean, a lot. I probably sold more tooth stuff for teeth issues, like with the Biodent and with the other stuff than any other thing I did. Now, the other thing that would always come up too was the gum issues invariably, okay? Bleeding gums, weak gums, receding gums, all of that stuff. Now, that's a whole other different ball of wax. For that, you need a really good bioflavonoid type of product. And what I was using, the two primary products I was using for gum issues were Cataplex ACP and Cyruta Plus. And I have one product now that just kind of replaces both of them, and it's the BioFCTS. It comes in a 90 count bottle for $23, and that will essentially cover both the bases I was trying to cover with the Cyruta Plus and the Cataplex ACP. And again, one of the primary ingredients that you look for to treat gums is you want to heavily emphasize bioflavonoids. So The first ingredient is vitamin C, and then the next one's quercetin, which is basically like a bioflavonoid. Okay, and then it also has buckwheat culture, which was the main thing that the Cyruta Plus and the Cataplex ACP had, but this has more because the other one didn't have quercetin. It also has green tea and citrus bioflavonoids, and then also the thymus and spleen glandulars, which are essential for any immune system issue or any infection case, because if you have infected gums. So this one product totally replaces Cyruta Plus, and it totally replaces Cataplex ACP, which is what I use those for. So it's kind of like one-stop shopping for your gums. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so let's do one more product before I go to the next part, because I'm already at about an hour and 15 minutes. The next one I had was Bios by Standard Process. Primarily, I would use this product for bone breaks, bone issues, bone healing. You would use it for any kind of bone case, okay? Whereas Biodent was more directed for the teeth. With this one, my direct crossover is the same. It's the Bone Cofactors product that I told you about previously. The one that would also replace Biodent. So I've kind of simplified my product line. My product line shrunk some because some of the products I brought in replaced like 2 to maybe even 3 products that I was using before, which for me is nice because it makes my job, you know, as a clinician or whatever, much easier to prescribe things as opposed to having to go into these unbelievably niche products. I've got products now that are a little more broad and they can cover more bases, which I like. So that's all I have for part 1, and we will go to part 2 next.